Are we recording? Yes, we are. Hello everybody, this is Carmen, and today we're in my kitchen and I'm going to be showing you how to go ahead and make yourselves some cold porcelain. Now, I was supposed to do this on my live stream today, but what ended up happening is that I tried my Wi-Fi, and because my house is so long, that Wi-Fi actually doesn't reach the kitchen for me to be able to stream it up live, and I just didn't want to put you guys through all of that, you know, headache of stalling out and things like that. So we're going to figure out, we're going to be doing something else with the cold porcelain once we've made it. So I did still want to show you guys the process of how to make it, so this is more or less me showing you that. So what I'm going to use today, I'm going to use some school glue. This is about 4 ounces. We're not going to make a very big batch. We're just going to make a batch that's big enough for us to play with for right now. You are going to need some Vaseline. You are also going to need some kind of lemon juice or vinegar. You can use either or. So I have some lemon juice, which I have right here. And then we're going to need our cornstarch. Okay? And these are pretty much the basic ingredients of how to make yourself cold porcelain. And the reason why we're on the stove, because I'm going to show you the stovetop method. Now, you can also do it in the microwave, but in my experience, you can overcook the porcelain, making it dry and brittle, and then you'll have lines and cracks and things like that. I made some cold porcelain the other day using the stove, and I really did like how that came out, so I think that that's going to be the way that I'm going to show you guys how to make it today. So let me just get myself together. And you're going to need a non-stick pan to do this. I have one right here. And this is the one that I use every time I make cold porcelain. So, I mean, the ingredients that we're using are non-toxic, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be eating in these things, then just make sure that you wash them out super well, and then wash them out super well again, and then do it at least a third time, just so that you make sure that your things are good to go and clean. So I'm going to show you how much of everything I'm going to put in here. And I'm going to get my stove going. And when you set your stove, you want to make sure that you set it at the lowest temperature possible. You want to make sure that it's at its lowest setting, where the flame is just barely visible. So you can't see it, but it's on right now. And I got myself a measuring cup so that I can show you. So the first things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add the 4 ounces of this glue in here. Just get out of it as much as you possibly can. Now, I did notice that with the recipe that I made the other day, I did find myself having to add more cornstarch later, so that's not really a big deal. I'm going to let it go right there. Now with the Vaseline, you want to go ahead and add yourself about a tablespoon, give or take. I'm just going to use about this much in a spatula. And this is one of those for painting and shellacking and stuff like that. So I'm going to add that in there. And then when it comes to the lemon, I'm going to go ahead and add that in there as well. So I'm going to add all of my wet and semi-wet ingredients. And I'm just going to put a little capful in there of the lemon juice, like so. And you pretty much just want to mix these in until they're all blended in together. Hopefully you guys can see that well, that it's all mixing in nicely. Now this does require a lot of stirring, you guys, and at some points you're gonna feel like it's just really hard to do it, but you just gotta keep going until you remove all of, you know, until it forms into somewhat of a ball. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my cornstarch, and let's see how much I have here. I have a little less than a cup. And almost like baking a cake, you want to add this a little bit at a time. I'm sure my flame is super low. I even made it lower than how it was before because we do not want this to burn. We do want to cook it, but we do not want to burn it. You can already start seeing that it starts to kind of clump up. And this will take a few minutes to kind of get it all together. And it is best if you use a non-stick pan to do this. I'm going to add some more. Oh, a lot went in there this time. A lot went in there this time. And that was 3/4 of a cup that I used in cornstarch. But you can already start seeing it starting to kind of clump up. Just want to push that in. And when it's all formed and it's all well, everything will pick itself up in a ball. You can see we're almost there. It's almost like you can pick it all up. I'm going to try to add a little bit more of this glue in there. See how much more we can get out of it. Just to make sure it's not super dry. You want it to form into a nice, you know, ball with a nice consistency. Almost like silly putty. You guys ever seen the silly putty? So it's almost like that. And again, this is really hard to kind of mix in once it starts cooking all the way through. And I'm just kind of smashing it all in there, making sure I get all the little bits and pieces off of it. And this is pretty much it, you guys. You've just made yourself some cold porcelain. Now this cold porcelain is good for all kinds of like little modeling projects. If you want to make yourself charms, you know, all kinds of things. They're good for putting in silicone molds. This is an air dry clay, so you do not have to cook it or bake it or anything like that, which is another plus. The only downside to this is that you do have to allow it to dry, usually overnight. It will take some time for it to dry, especially depending on the size and the thickness of the piece that you are making. But overall, it is awesome, and I think my clay is pretty much done. So you see how that kind of picked itself up, and my pot is more or less clean. We're pretty much done with this. So I'm going to take this off the flame. And I'm going to get my second station set up. And as you can see, I still have a lot left over, but I did not need to use it. So pretty much this is why you put it a little bit at a time. You play it by ear. If you want to use all of this, then you just have to get a little bit more glue. I might still use that, but in the kneading process, which I'll show you next. My stove is now off. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. Oops. So here we are on my counter. And what we're going to do, make sure that any surface that you're going to be working on is nice and clean. And I'm just going to add some of this right on to my surface, my work surface. I'm going to come over here and get my little ball and just kind of let that fall right in there. Now when you first handle it, it is going to be warm. You want to get yourself some Vaseline, or baby oil will work, but Vaseline I feel works better. I've done this a few times and I think the Vaseline kind of works a lot better. So you just kind of want to knead this, and it's still warm. The Vaseline is just mostly so that it doesn't stick too much to your fingers. You just kind of want to knead that. You can kind of see. And this one might actually be a little dry, but we'll fix that now. I'm going to add some more glue into it. If I can. This one will come off easier. I go through a lot of glue bottles making this because I love playing with it. So I just added a little bit more, and this is why you want to make sure that you got that Vaseline on your hands, and you just blend them all together. It's a little bit of a messy process, but it is very well worth it. And this cold porcelain, if you store it well, can last you for a very, very long time. It's very comparable to the polymer clay in the sense that you can build all those types of figurines, and when it dries hard. There will be no flexibility in it, you know, if it's done properly. It's just a very nice clay to not just make but play with as well. And what you want to look for, you want it to have somewhat of a hard peak. And I will show you one that I made once I get my hands all cleaned up. And then you want to store this. Now, a lot of people say that to store it in the refrigerator. I don't store mine in the refrigerator, but you can if you want to. That's, you know, completely up to you. I'm just trying to get some of that stickiness out of it because it will be sticky for a little while. So you just slightly kind of dust it as you go. And like with any dough or any kind of, you know, clay, you always work it in your hands before you use it. Let that warmth of your body kind of flow through that clay. And there are many tips and tricks on how to work with porcelain clay to get your fingerprints out of it, to clean it up if it catches any dust, because it's so white. You can also color this clay in little batches with acrylic, with watercolor, even with markers. So there's many things that you can do. It's a very versatile and easy to make with very simple ingredients kind of clay. Form yourself perfect little spheres for little faces. I mean, this is pretty much almost ready to play with and work. And then once you do is how you store it, okay? Because this clay is good to go. This clay is good to go. And this is the one that I made previously. Because again, my plan was to do this on live stream. But unfortunately, like I said, my Wi-Fi is just not the greatest. And my house is very long. And so from where my room is, where I have the router, all the way to the kitchen is quite a distance. And even though we get a signal, it's extremely weak. And I just didn't want to go through any of the bumps because I didn't want you guys to miss out on the important information on how to make this. So my clay is pretty much done. It's very easy to smooth out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some Vaseline again to this, because I'm going to wrap it in plastic and you just don't want it to get, you don't want it to stick. You can also use a airtight container to store it. That will probably be preferable. So I'm just going to lather it up a little bit. You don't have to do this every single time, because once you figure out how to work with your clay, you'll be good to go. I'm going to set this down right here. But as you can see, it doesn't stick no more. I can pick it up from my surface and it's good to go. I have a heck of a cleanup job, but that's not too bad. Wash my hands. And what we're going to do is we're going to saran wrap this. So we're going to get some plastic cling wrap. And I'm going to wrap it up in that for now. I will be transferring into a Ziploc bag. And I will be taking all the air out of that bag so that it is as airtight as possible, because it's air dry clay, you guys. It will dry in the air. So you want to make sure that everything is copacetic. So again, I'm going to grab some Vaseline and I'm just going to smear it. You can also put baby lotion, or lotion or baby oil, whatever you guys have. A lot of people use lotion, which works perfectly fine. I have in front of me Vaseline, so I'll just use that. And now that my surface has its Vaseline, okay, my surface is all Vaselined up, I'm going to grab my clay, my beautiful, beautiful clay. Just making sure that it is nice and clean and nice and lathered up. And I'm going to put my clay right there. And again, I'm going to try to squeeze as much of that air out of there as possible. And there's our clay. Now I'll show you the one that I made the other day. And this was, I believe I made this on Monday. It was either Monday or Sunday that I made this. I know it was the very beginning of the week. And I'll show you how this is holding up so far. And this is just half the batch. I have another little batch. You know, the other half of this. I made about the same quantity. I used 4 ounces at a time. And this is my clay. And I just love playing with this stuff. And it's no longer sticky. Now, I am by no means an expert in this type of stuff. It's just something that I've tried and I have found success with, and I have used, and I have created different things and moldings and just different accents to add to, like my mixed media pieces, things that create, you know, texture and dimension. It's good for all of that good stuff. So yeah, that's my clay. So I'm gonna let you guys go, and I will write down the ingredients that I use in the description down below, but it's very simple, you guys. All you need is school glue, some cornstarch, some Vaseline or baby oil, and some lemon juice or vinegar. Now, there's many other ways of doing it, but this is the simplest way, and it does the same thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed these moments in my kitchen, and I will catch you guys in the next one, and stay tuned for tonight's live. I have no idea what I'm going to be making, but we're definitely going to play with these for a little while, just so that I can show you different techniques on how to play with them. But for the most part, we're probably going to end up doing something else in the interim. So thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye.